Why do crowds always choose lies over truth? This lecture is prepared and presented by Dr. S. Joseph Arul Jayraj, former Head and Associate Professor of English, St. Joseph's College Autonomous, Tiruchirappalli, Tamil Nadu, India. Let's explore the psychological phenomenon of why groups and societies often prefer comfortable illusions to difficult truths. Drawing on the trial of Socrates, Plato's Allegory of the Cave argues as follows: belonging versus truth. Human beings are driven more by a need for social identity and group validation than for factual accuracy. Embracing shared lies provides a sense of community and security, whereas truth can be isolating and intellectually demanding. The inevitability of collective delusion. Because truth is often complex and uncomfortable, it is inherently less popular than simple, emotionally satisfying lies. Consequently, societies frequently prioritize consensus over wisdom. Hostility toward dissent. Crowds do not merely ignore the truth, they often turn hostile toward anyone who challenges their collective narrative, as truth-telling is perceived as an existential threat to the group's cohesion. This fundamental architecture of human psychology causes intelligent people and advanced civilizations to make irrational decisions, leaving them susceptible to collapse when they sacrifice reality for the comfort of the crowd. Let us analyze the persistent conflict between truth and social conformity. Plato's Allegory of the Cave argues that human groups, from families to nations, consistently choose comforting lies over uncomfortable truths to maintain harmony, security, and tribal identity. Key points include the power of crowd psychology. Whether in politics, science, or social life, crowds prioritize group validation and consensus over objective reality, often punishing those who challenge popular narratives. The Platonic critique. Plato argued that society's reliance on democratic consensus is flawed because the majority often lacks the intellectual and moral discipline required to make wise decisions. He proposed that society should be governed by philosopher kings, individuals trained to value rigorous inquiry over popularity. The modern post-truth crisis. Contemporary society exemplifies these dangers by treating all opinions as equally valid, rejecting expertise, and prioritizing self-esteem over intellectual rigor. This leads to a culture where reality itself is viewed as optional or partisan. The bootstrap paradox. Genuine wisdom requires an education that prioritizes critical thinking, yet the very societies that need wise leadership are structured to reward conformity and reject those who challenge the status quo. The individual's choice. Escaping this cave of illusion is possible but rare. It requires immense personal courage to sacrifice social belonging and comfort in exchange for the burden of independent thought and integrity. Ultimately, it can be understood that resistance to truth is a fundamental human struggle. We often prefer the security of shared delusions to the uncertainty and isolation that come with pursuing reality. It is pertinent to note that the psychological and social difficulty of maintaining independent thought in a world driven by collective bias. Plato's Allegory of the Cave argues that while understanding crowd psychology reveals how deeply embedded conformity is in human nature, it also offers a path towards philosophical immunity. Key takeaways include the choice. We are constantly forced to choose between the comfort of belonging, the cave, and the integrity of truth. The responsibility of insight. Gaining the ability to think independently is not a mark of superiority, but a moral obligation to resist collective delusion and hold society accountable. The societal stakes. Choosing comfort over reality is unsustainable. Societies that abandon truth ultimately fail to survive. The call to action. Plato encourages people to cultivate intellectual courage, challenge popular assumptions, and prioritize wisdom over validation to foster a more conscious and authentic society. Now, what do you want to choose, truth or lie? Beware of your choice. You will be responsible for the consequences of your choice. Be ready to face it.